Hey, what's up guys? Spencer Rhodes here, and this is part 2 of my Walking Dead Season 8B Death Predictions. The mid-season premiere is in 5 days, so I'm going to do the rest of these. There's going to be a new part each day, and in each video I'm going to do 10 characters, maybe more, but I'm sticking with 10 characters for right now. That should be enough if I make a new part each day. And they are in random order, and I go through each character and I decide the chances of them dying in the back half of this season, from 1 being very low to 10 being very high. 10 out of 10 basically means they're definitely going to die, in my opinion. But yeah, let's get started. Alright, so first off, we have Carol. Simply put, no, she's not going anywhere. She's not going to die. I mean, if she died, who'd be around to bake cookies? I mean, if you're killing walkers and, shooting people and all that shit, don't you want a cookie? Like, how are you gonna, live through the day stress-free if you don't have a cookie to eat? And if Carol's dead, no one's going to be around to bake cookies. Okay, in all seriousness, no, she's not going to die. Her story just does not go it just does not point in that direction. She could die in season 9, she could die in season 10. In fact, I could see her sort of getting a remix of Andrea's comic death, because I could imagine her being a character that says those things to Rick about, you need to do this and that. But, I mean, it'd be different because Rick and Andrea were married in the comics, and Carol and Rick are barely friends right now, so I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with Carol, but she's survived 8 seasons. She's going to survive another 8. She's just one of those characters. She and Daryl have kind of an important relationship. She's about to be one of the Atlanta 3, because Carl is dying, so she's going to be one of the last 3 Atlanta survivors, and Morales was an Atlanta survivor, so we got our Atlanta 5 back for about 5 minutes, and then Morales died, and now Carl's dying, and I'm like, God damn it. So now we got an Atlanta 3 and Morgan. Those are all the characters that are left from season 1, and we know that Morgan is pretty much leaving the show and is going to Fear the Walking Dead, and I do not believe at this point that Morgan is going to die. I think he is simply leaving and traveling to the characters in Fear the Walking Dead. So with Carol, she's one of the last 3 characters from season 1. I feel like with season 9, they need at least 3. They need at least 3 characters from season 1. I mean, that's just how the show is. You shouldn't change the entire cast to the point where all of the elements in season 1 just don't exist anymore. There should be 2 or 3 characters that are in the show most of the time. I just feel like you should have some original elements. And that's what Norman Reedus said in an interview. At some point you got to respect the original cast members, or at least the original cast members that are left, because if you kill all of them, it is kind of a completely different show. And I agree with that. I agree that The Walking Dead should always have some familiar elements all the way through, besides Rick, and who knows, Rick could die. So I think having at least 3 characters that have been on the show since the beginning into season 9 would be a really good idea, and that's all we're going to get. Rick, Daryl, Carol, that's the best case scenario, because we're losing Carl and Morgan. Morgan's not going to die, but we're still going to lose Carl and Morgan, so the only season 1 characters will be Rick, Daryl, Carol. I know that's not the best reason, but just trust me, Carol's not dying. Her story's just not coming to an end. I think that she's still not really at peace with herself. She's not at peace with the things she's done. She got to go on a little bit of a vacation and hide in her little cabin and get away from everything, but coming back and fighting this war, she's still not at peace with herself. I think she still has a storyline left. I think once she finds peace within herself and finds happiness, if she ever does, I think being unhappy is what's kept her alive, and who knows how long that will continue. But I do believe that she's kind of had a long, complex story arc. First she killed Karen and David, then she killed Lizzie and Mika, and she got really upset about it, and then she blew up Terminus and got a little upset about that, and then in season 6 she killed a bunch of saviors, and that kind of upset her. Not saviors, but the wolves, and some of her friends died, and she cried at the end of that episode, and then she she saw the redhead die, and she just got really upset, and then tried to get away, and almost got killed. And then she is at the kingdom, and she wants to get away, and she goes to a cabin. So she's just basically had this really long story arc, and it's not coming to an end. I don't believe it is about to conclude. I think that both Carol and Ezekiel will survive this season, and that their relationship will continue to play out in season 9. And I think we'll have a few more adventures with Carol and Daryl. So I really believe 100% that Carol will make it out of this season alive. I would be really surprised if she didn't. So for Carol, her chances of dying are 0 out of 10. I'll just go ahead and say 0 out of 10. All right, next up we have Father Gabriel, or Gabriel, whatever you want to call him. I believe this is kind of a tough one, because they could kill him off. They could do it if they wanted to, but if I were going to have to make a decision, I would say that he lives, because I think that with Carl dying, Rick's kind of gonna need Gabriel to sort of be there for him and assure him that God has a plan or whatever. I think Rick needs some supportive characters. I don't know if Daryl's going to do a very good job of helping Rick deal with his grief, because Daryl's just kind of become an asshole, wanting to blow up the sanctuary with families in it and children in it. And he's just not listening to anyone but himself. And Michonne's going to be just as upset as Rick is, and I think they will help each other, but early on they're going to be very upset. And I think Maggie will help them, and Carol might. I don't know. Carol doesn't really talk to Rick's group anymore, except for Daryl, but and Morgan. But I think that Gabriel will kind of need to comfort Rick and Michonne, especially Rick, because Rick and Gabriel got really close over the last couple of years, and I think Gabriel will be the one to help Rick deal with Carl's death and move on and live on and focus on what's next. I also think that Gabriel does have an interesting role to play in season 9, because in the comics, Negan is locked up after all that war, and he talks to Carl a lot. I think Gabriel could be the one. He's the best option at this point to fill that role, to be the character that talks to Negan that's locked up in a cell. I don't want it to be Daryl. They're going to have a hard enough time keeping Daryl from killing Negan, let alone having Daryl and Negan socialize in his cell every night. That's just not going to happen. But Gabriel could, because Gabriel already has that relationship with Negan. Gabriel and Negan sort of have this connection. Gabriel doesn't really like Negan that much, but Negan likes Gabriel, and Gabriel is, I think Gabriel still considers Negan a human who has sinned and can still possibly be redeemed. And I think that's what that episode was about, the episode where they're both trapped in the car, and they get to know each other a little more, and they help each other fight the walkers and escape. And I think their relationship kind of developed a little bit, and Gabriel might be one of the key characters that supports Negan getting locked up rather than killed in the first place. He might be one of the ones that talks to Rick and says, just let this man find salvation in his jail cell or something like that, because Gabriel's still religious. That's a big part of his character. I don't believe that Gabriel is ever going to want Negan to get out of his cell, but he might want to still help Negan, find his spiritual self, or just learn more about him, because they do seem interested in each other. So I know Gabriel's sick. In the trailer, his eyes look like they were bleeding or something. He didn't look too good, but I think he will recover. He could just be really, really sick and need some medicine or something. But I think he will make it out of this season alive. Another reason is he actually dies in the comics during the Whisper War. which I think the Whisper War will it'll be part of season 9, definitely. It also might be a part of season 10, but in the comics, Gabriel dies at the very start of the Whisper War. When the Whisperers first attack, he's on a ladder, and he's got a sniper rifle, and he falls off and breaks his leg, and one of the Whisperers kills him. I think he should get a very similar death in the show. In fact, almost exact. The difference is that Gabriel kind of dies like a bitch in the comics. He kind of dies like a coward. I want Gabriel to the Whisperer's name is Beta. Beta is the one that disembowels Gabriel. I want Gabriel to spit on his face and give him an angry look and be like, "I've made my peace with God" or something. And then Beta disembowels him. I think that would be kind of a cool death for Father Gabriel. Because Seth Gilliam's a good actor, and I think he would. It would be a good way to end his character. So I do believe that Gabriel will make it to season 9. They could possibly kill him off, but I am leaning towards him making it. So I believe that the chances of Gabriel dying this season, this back half, are 4 out of 10. Okay, so next up we have Tobin. Tobin is the best. Tobin is the baddest. Tobin is just the most awesome character in the entire franchise. He is a super powered god. He just has magical powers, and no matter what, he just can't get killed. He's been on the show since season 5. He's been in over 20 episodes. And I'm glad he's made it this long, and I've always liked him. I just think he's kind of a cool background character. He's kind of developed into a badass soldier. I would love to see him make it to season 9, but I don't know. They might kill him this season. They might kill him. I feel like they need a sad death besides Carl, and I'm not sure who else is there. Most of the characters that are still alive right now, they have futures in the comics. Ezekiel, Rosita, Rick, Michonne, all these characters survive All Out War in the comics. We're already losing Carl, so we need some of the characters that are alive in the comics that survive All Out War. We still need to keep them that way. Aaron, Dwight, Negan, Jesus, Gregory, Eugene. I think a lot of these characters, Maggie, they're still alive in A New Beginning. So I think that the writers are going to try to make it as close to A New Beginning as possible. Seeing who's still alive after All Out War, who's still alive in A New Beginning, that's kind of a good way to sort of help us figure out who's going to live and who's going to die in the back half of this season. And Tobin died in the comics way earlier. If they followed the comics, he would have died in the middle of season 6. And I'm glad they didn't do that because he's a cool guy. But I'm a really big fan of the character, and I'm a really big fan of the actor. However, I just don't know. I want him to live, but I have this bad feeling that he's not going to live. I think that, like I said, they need a sad death besides Carl. Because there's going to be 7 more episodes after Carl's death in the mid-season premiere. 7 more episodes. This is the back half of All Out War. I think that it'd be cool to kind of give him a hero's death, and I think that's what will happen because he's developed into a much more of a soldier, much more of a fighter. He's a survivor now. He's been shooting saviors, shooting walkers. He's not the guy that he was at the very beginning of the show where he didn't know shit. So I think that maybe that's sort of his evolution, and there's not too much more to do with him from a writer's standpoint. I just want him to live because I like the character, but characters I like tend to die on the show. So I think he's up next for the chopping block. It's unfortunate because, like I said, I really like the character, and I really want to be wrong. I just don't want to hope in something that has no hope. I think he's probably going to die in the back half. Maybe towards the end, maybe in the last couple of episodes. They're probably going to give him some more dialogue. He's probably going to talk more in the back half of the season. If Tobin gets a lot of dialogue, that's a good indication that his time's running out. Or if he says something really heroic or morally good or morally pure, that's an indication that he's probably about to die. Or if he does something really badass and awesome, that's an indication that he's probably about to die. But for the most part, it's the whole morally pure dialogue or just talking a lot in general. You can tell when someone's about to die by their dialogue in the show. If they get a lot of dialogue, they're about to die. If they do something morally pure, they're about to die. So we're probably going to see that from Tobin, and he's probably going to die. Because, I want someone that's an Alexandrian besides Aaron and Enid to be alive in A New Beginning, but they might just have Scott be alive. I don't know. I would really, really, really like to see Tobin make it to season 9. He could be one of the heads on Spikes, or he could die in the Whisperer War. That would be badass. I'd be okay with that if he makes it that far, but I just don't know. I think he's probably going to die. They're probably going to, have him die a heroic death, or they're going to make him talk a lot and then kill him off, or do something morally pure and then kill him off. Okay, so my prediction for Tobin is that his chances of dying are 8 out of 10. Okay, so next up we have Maggie. Maggie is safe for now. I know that there's this whole controversy with the actress wanting to get paid more and AMC not wanting to pay her more, and she's talking to other productions and wants to join movies and stuff, but I don't think her character is going to die. They have gone out of their way to give her her comic story, and her comic story still has a lot left. She's one of the bigger comic characters that has a really big role after All Out War. One of them is Carl, and one of them is Andrea, and they're both dead. So I think with Maggie, they really need to just play it safe and give her her comic story. She's still alive in the comics. She still has a really big part in the comics. Her wanting to kill Negan is a really big part. Her being the leader of the Hilltop is a really big part. They've followed all of it step by step the way it was in the comics. So killing her off now would just make no sense, and it would fuck it all up, and it would make all the things they did, all that progress towards just her entire comic story, it would just make it irrelevant. It would just really be a waste to kill her off. Plus, I just think she's safe. I think she's going to make it. She just has a lot more comic material, as the leader of the Hilltop, and she just has a lot more to do. If you read the comics, you know what I'm talking about. She has a lot more to do, and I think she is safe for now. If the actress leaves the show and they have to kill her, they might not do that until season 9. I would say hopefully the actress gives them time to properly kill her off. But as far as season 8 goes, I think they finished filming season 8 before all this drama started happening. So I don't think she's dying in the back half. So I think she's safe. So I'd say the chances of Maggie dying in the back half are 1 out of 10. Okay, next up we have Aaron. Aaron, I believe, will survive because he's another comic character that survives All Out War, and his story has, again, been pretty close to his story in the comics. And in the comics, he has a lot more to do. He goes into a relationship with Jesus. In the show, he just started kind of bonding with Enid. Not in a sexual way because he likes men, but I think Aaron and Enid sort of have this unique friendship, and that just started. So to kill him off in the back half in the next 8 episodes just wouldn't make sense. I think we're going to see more of Aaron being angry and wanting revenge for Eric's death, and in season 9 or season 10 we might see him and Jesus hook up. And like I said, I think they just started his friendship with Enid, so why would they kill him off so soon? And with Enid losing Carl, I think it'll make their connection stronger because they both lost their romantic interest, and they'll both be angry and have grief, and they'll both fight this war. And I think we'll continue to see Aaron and Enid's relationship evolve in season 9. So I would say the chances of Aaron dying in the back half of this season are 0 out of 10. Okay, so next up we have Jerry. Jerry is an awesome character. We all like him. He's a hard character to dislike. With him dying, I want to say no, but it's possible. They could do it. They could kill him in this season. I feel like he's a 3-season character. Some characters you can just tell when they're 3-season characters. You know, I felt like Abraham was one, and he was, unless you count the premiere. A lot of characters die in the 3rd season, like Andrea, Herschel, Merle. I mean, the list goes on. Tyrese, you know. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I think, you know, if someone was to force me to pick one or the other, I would say he lives. But I'm not too sure. I'm not too confident in my answer, because they could kill him. I mean, I think the thing that kind of keeps him alive is that Ezekiel has suffered enough for 1 season. You know, Ezekiel has lost Shiva, he lost Alvaro and Daniel. Just the kingdom in general has taken its share of casualties, and I think keeping Jerry alive is kind of important, because you do want characters from the kingdom to survive, not just Ezekiel, Carol, and Morgan, but, you know, someone else. Yeah, I hope that Jerry and Deanne, what's her name, Deanne, I hope they both live. I do feel like one of them could die, but not both of them, and I really don't know which one. But I mean, Jerry's so popular and so funny, and he's already almost died like a couple of times this season. He almost died when fighting the Saviors. He was the only survivor out of 50 people besides Ezekiel and Carol, and then his car got hit by the Saviors, and Simon almost executed him. So Jerry has already had a few near-death moments, and I think that he's kind of earned his survival for this season. However, if they wanted a real gut-wrenching death, and you know, they wanted Ezekiel to have another loss, they could go that route. But I think Jerry will make it to season 9. I think he will be a season 9 death. He might be one of the heads on spikes, or he might die during the Whisper War. But for season 8, I think there's at least a good, fair chance that he will make it. But I have no reason to tell you he's 100% going to make it, because I just don't know. So I would say the chances of Jerry dying are 4 out of 10. Next up, we have Gregory. All right, with Gregory, I think he will make it. I think he will live, and he will die in season 9, because his story will be like the comics. He will try to kill Maggie. He will try to poison Maggie during A New Beginning, and Maggie will survive, and then have him publicly hanged and executed for what he tried to do to Maggie. They've already tried to set this up with Maggie, with Gregory almost killing Maggie in season 7, and then season 8, he's trying to work with Negan, and then he gets shoved off a cliff or whatever. But and right now Gregory got locked up, so just when Gregory was starting to forgive Maggie, Maggie locks him up for being such a bitch. So I think that is one of the things that will really make Gregory angry and make him try to kill Maggie. So Gregory will try to poison Maggie, and Maggie will survive, and she will have him publicly executed and hanged. They could do this in season 8. They could, but you know, if they're going to follow the comics, and I think they will, it'll be season 9. But it could be season 8. But I think he will make it. I think Gregory will not die this season. He will die next season, because they're going to follow the comics in a comics timeline. So he will die after All Out War, not during All Out War. So I would say the chances of him dying are 2 out of 10. Next up, we have Dwight. Dwight is a character I am positive is going to make it. They've built up too much with him. To have him just get killed at the end of season 8 would be kind of a waste. I mean, why not just kill him earlier? Everyone keeps wanting to kill him. He keeps escaping all these near-death scenarios. Eugene almost told Negan about Dwight. Laura found out about Dwight. Tara and Daryl keep trying to kill Dwight. You know, like, Dwight keeps escaping death, and I think that they're going to do what they did with the comics. Negan is going to get locked up, and Dwight is going to become the leader of the Saviors. Now, Dwight in the comics and TV show, they do have some differences. I don't know if Dwight's comic story will be continued, page for page faithfully. I don't know if he will be the leader of the army during the Whisperer War. I think they will do some things differently, because one of the things that's really different about Dwight in the TV show as opposed to the comics is Sherry. Sherry seems like a much better person in the show. She leaves because she kind of feels bad about what's happened to Dwight and what's happened to Daryl, and she can't live with herself anymore, so she just runs away. And it's kind of a big mystery what happened to her. I think it's possible that she became a Whisperer, or she got captured by the Whisperers. So I think season 9, or maybe the end of season 8, we'll see what happened with Sherry. But I think Dwight has to stay alive until then, and I think he will make it to at least season 9, just because he has so much comic material, and I do think that they are setting him up to be the leader of the Saviors at the end of this season. Like he becomes the leader of the Saviors at the end of All Out War. I think they're going to do it exactly like the comics. So I think he's safe for this season. Maybe next season they could do something with him that involves him dying, but not this season. So I would say the chances of Dwight dying in the back half of this season are 0 out of 10. Okay, next up we have Eugene. Eugene's kind of a tough one because his story is so different from the comics. If we're going by the comics, then of course Eugene's going to survive, and he has this big story that he will make it to season 10 or 11 if they followed his comic story. He's still alive in the comics. But Eugene's really different in the show. At this point in the comics, Eugene had become a really sort of tough badass, and in the show, he's still a coward. The trailer makes it seem like he's the one that gets the Saviors out of the sanctuary. So whoever the Saviors kill, that's on Eugene's hands. I mean, Eugene's the one that got them out. I'm just kind of sick of him. I'm sick of him being a coward. And I'd be more than happy to see him die. We've been putting up with his bullshit for 5 seasons now. He's not changing. He's not really getting better. Every now and then he does the right thing, and then he just reverts back to being a coward and doing shit that fucks other characters over. I mean, yeah, he's smart and he's useful and he understands things that other characters don't understand. But because his story is so different from the comics, I don't know if he's going to survive. He survives in the comics, but like I said, his story is different. So I don't know if they're going to do the same thing. I just don't know. They could kill him off. They might not kill him off. I'd say it's a 50-50 chance. It's a 50-50 toss-up, and I don't know if they are going to kill him or not. I think that with the show, it's just his story is different, and I believe that they are setting up, he's going to redeem himself at the very end of the season. I mean, he kind of redeemed himself by letting Gabriel go, but I mean, I don't know. He's helped Negan and the Savior so much, and he's been such a coward that I believe that Eugene is, at this point, the only way to redeem him would be just have him die a heroic death. Have him die in a way that helps Rick win the war. Like, he's finally realized that, he should die for a bigger cause, and he should stop being a coward. That'd be kind of a cool way for him to go out. But, I mean, his death wouldn't even be sad. I don't know a lot of really big Eugene fans. I don't like him that much. Maybe they want to make us like him before they kill him, and they don't even have enough time to do that if they're going to do that this season. So I'd say it's a 50-50 chance. I'd say the chances of him dying this season are 5 out of 10. Okay, so next up we have Ezekiel. Ezekiel, I believe, will survive. I know that he's kind of in a dangerous spot right now. In the mid-season finale, he was in a dangerous spot. Gavin had him captured. And in the trailer, we see Gavin talking to Ezekiel. And, you know, we're supposed to think that Gavin's going to deliver Ezekiel to Negan, and Negan will kill Ezekiel. However, there was a trailer or a making of video, I forgot what it was, but there's a video on YouTube, and it was released by AMC. It's an official AMC thing. It's not really a spoiler because it was released by AMC. It was a making of video or a trailer, but it shows Ezekiel with Carol and Morgan. So we know that Carol and Morgan rescue Ezekiel, so Ezekiel is not dying in the mid-season premiere. It's, you know, it's an unfortunate spoiler, but if AMC is going to tell us that he lives, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, stay off YouTube. But yeah, we pretty much know that he's going to survive that particular encounter. But with Ezekiel, I think he's going to survive the rest of the season anyway, because I think they're going to do what they did with the comics. They're going to kill him during A New Beginning, I would say in the very middle of season 9, because I do want him to die like he died in the comics, with his head being on a spike. I think that will be the middle of season 9. It'll be the mid-season cliffhanger. We're going to see Andrew Lincoln walking around looking horrified, looking at these 12 heads on spikes, and Ezekiel will be one of those heads. I think the middle of season 9, the mid-season finale, the last few minutes would be the perfect time to do this. And I think by then they'll have time to round up Ezekiel's story and have him be happy, and maybe it's just like the comics, because Ezekiel is about to confess his love to Michonne. Maybe in the show, Ezekiel is about to confess his love to Carol, and then he dies. We see his head on a spike. Maybe Jerry's head is with him, who knows? But I believe that Ezekiel will get his comic death. And since his comic death is in the middle of New Beginning, he will not die this season. He will not die during All Out War. So I would say the chances of him dying this season are 0 out of 10. Okay guys, let me know what you think of this video. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your predictions? Let me know in the comments below. Don't be shy. Hit that like and subscribe. I'm not going anywhere. We are at 40 subscribers right now, so please hit that subscribe button. Please help my channel in any way you can. Please hit that subscribe button. My first goal is 250. We're almost 20% there. We're going to get there, guys, so please if you could just hit that subscribe button, you will not regret it. I make 1 to 2 Walking Dead videos per day, so I would really appreciate any kind of support. And I appreciate you. I appreciate those of you that actually managed to watch this video to the end, and you can look forward to part 3 tomorrow, or not look forward to it. You can just fucking hate me. I don't know. That's your decision. Anyway, I'm Spencer Rhodes, and I will see you guys later. Bye.